man.
I change your bum life. You fight me, it's a celebration.
I will beat you.
When you sign to fight me, it's a celebration. You ring back home, you ring your wife. Baby, we done it. We're rich, baby. Conor McGregor made us rich. Break out the red panties.
Let's get it all!
Yo, welcome back to the MMA Short Show. As always, your boy Steven Moustaris. And guys, let's just get straight into it, baby. UFC 288 this past weekend, not too bad. I feel like a lot of people probably weren't as hyped for this card as, the last three that we've had, the previous three. I mean, clearly John Jones coming back. And then Leon versus Usman 2. You had Hazeev and Gaethje on that fight card. And then clearly the Izzy versus Pereira fight, which I think literally right here. And then, of course, going to Miami for the first time in 20 years, Masvidal, Gilbert Burns. And, those three cards, clearly, I understand why people are hyped for those. And then you get UFC 288, probably not as, hyped up as, what we've been kind of pleasured with recently. But, the one thing I do want to talk about, man, is that main event was actually pretty fucking amazing. The first round, I was sitting there like, oh, man, Aljo probably got that. He's looking really well. Maybe it's the layoff. Maybe Aljo's just that good. Like, this might get ugly for Cejudo. And then, man, I don't know what it was. Like, he must have got the ring rust off a tad or something. But I, personally, for me, and I'll get into it, why it doesn't really fucking matter to the UFC who won that fight. But, I personally thought that Cejudo won 2, 3, and 5. For sure won 5. 2 and 3 were so close, man. And even round 4 was really close. Like 3 of those rounds were so close. 2, 3, and 4 were really, really close. It was up to whoever you wanted to pick. I could see it going either way. But then, of course, round 5, Aljamain Sterling's corner, Ray Longo, and Matt Serra telling him, like, hey, man, you got this 4-0, maybe 3-1. So let's be smart out there. Let's get to the bell. Let's win this, And he takes the round off. And this is where it kind of gets questionable. Like, if you're out here looking at, like, a robbery of some sort, like, for Aljo, or Henry just went out there and just took the round. And for, Aljo just to sit there and not do anything. And only 2 of the 3 judges gave the scorecard on the 5th round to Henry Cejudo. So I think it was Sal Diamato or something. I think he was the one that didn't give it to him in that 5th. And if you gave that round to Aljamain Sterling, I don't know what you're doing, man. I don't know what you're watching, because it's like I'm not mad that he won the fight or got the nod in any way. I don't think either guy got robbed, but you definitely raise the eyebrows a little bit there in the 5th round. Like, what the fuck were you watching? What were you judging? So there are arguments out there. Henry Cejudo did get robbed on the judges' scorecard if we're looking at that 5th round, but ultimately it just doesn't matter. I really don't think it matters. I think the UFC was like, hey man, I think it's pretty evident that they didn't care. No matter, what the one, thing is that didn't change this entire fight. The one thing that didn't change at all was, if Henry wins this fight, guess who's next? Suga Sean O'Malley. If Aljamain Sterling wins this fight, guess who's next? Suga Sean O'Malley. And, the UFC has done very, very well or good, or bad, whichever one you want to look at it, depending on which way you like it. But, for guys out there that like the old school style where they bring in the next contender, I think the most recent one I could really remember was the whole John Jones walking in on Shogun Rua or whatever. I think that happened with the Ryan Bader win. And technically, John Jones was in the ring already, and then octagon, and then Shogun came in. But GSP is one of his greatest sound clips of all time against Matt Hughes. Like, I'm not impressed with your performance. Like, the old school Strikeforce days and shit when the Diaz brothers would come in there and they'd get the thing going instantly, the face-offs and shit. Like, the UFC got away from that, and they definitely don't like doing it too much. But did you notice how quick they got Suga Sean O'Malley in there? And it might have took over the show with Merab stealing the, the jacket and everything. So, pretty much ultimately, I think the UFC, I don't think they mess with the scorecards at all. I don't think it would make sense for them to mess with the scorecards. But, I think the right winner won for the UFC. You want the active guy to win the belt. Because what? The last time that we gave Henry Cejudo a chance to become double champion and to do his own thing and to headline shows and shit, he retires. He gets a win against Dominic Cruz and goes, oh, Dana, you just did all this for me, and I saved 125 and did all this for you, and I'm going to just embarrass you on live TV and just give you a shocking retirement. So I definitely think that the UFC had that in the back of their head where they're like, man, we don't want Henry Cejudo winning this fight and retiring instantly. So, okay, probably a good thing Aljo wins. But ultimately, at the end of the day, this whole thing was just made for Suga Sean O'Malley. That just shows how big of a superstar we have. Like, the UFC is dying for somebody at 135 to get the love finally. Like, guys, for real. Like, if we look back at WEC when they came in, Dominic Cruz ran it for a while. Never really got the love from the guys. And then at that time in the UFC and MMA in general, fans weren't in love with the lighter fighters yet. So like Dominic Cruz was way ahead of his time, didn't get the love. And then what? You got TJ Dillashaw came up and everything, but guess what? TJ Dillashaw, cocky son of a bitch. Not everybody likes him. And then of course you add on what happens with the whole Team Alpha male and that whole incident. And then of course the drug issue. So nobody liked TJ Dillashaw. We had Cody Garbrandt there for a quick second, but then he loses, gets knocked out like how many times in a row, and just we know what his career has been going to. And hopefully he does bounce back, but we just know he'll probably never be a champion again. And that's no offense. I think he'd even admit to that, but I know he's still going to try, and that's never going to stop him. But, that didn't pan out. And then, Pyotr Yan, amazing fighter. Yes, we love him, but he's Russian. He's not really going to, in the U.S., in a U.S. company in the United States, we're not going to, connect with him and get that love with him. So it's like, and then what? Aljamain Sterling, finally an American, finally a dominant champion, finally somebody who's willing to fight all the time, coming in here and just beating guys. And it's like, oh, hey, by the way, we don't like you either. So it's like, what is there? The UFC is dying for this. Like, they'll never want another, press conference like the ones we just had. It was one of the worst press conferences I've seen in a while. This whole last one with Aljamain and Henry, two cringeworthy guys, especially Henry. Henry at least puts it on like an act. Aljamain Sterling just naturally is kind of cringeworthy. And I love Aljamain's fighting ability, but like the dude just doesn't connect with people. He just fought in his home fucking town in New Jersey. I know he's from New York, but he just fought in his hometown basically and was getting booed the entire fight. It was getting booed at the end because Suga Sean came in. Like, nobody likes him in there. And like, it's just mind blowing to me. Like, your hometown and they're booing you. And it's like, you guys, I don't want to see I don't think that these fights sold much. And if they did, I'd be impressed. But I don't think the fight card sold much. Like, the UFC is dying for a superstar 135 fight. Never had one. Literally have never had one. The closest thing we got, like I said, was maybe a Henry Cejudo, maybe a Cody Garbrandt, but it just didn't work out. Henry retired, and Cody sadly went on and just kind of fell down. So it's like, Suga Sean, here he comes, steps up. This might be the dude, but it really does. As much as I love Suga Sean as well, I watch his pods, I love Suga Sean. He's the man, but like I think everybody does. And as much as I think he actually could probably go out there and at least outstrike Aljamain Sterling, there is that terrifying feeling of like, if Aljo gets his back, man, I know it doesn't look as impressive out of Aljo because he fought a guy, Olympic gold medalist, who he's probably, he got his back a little bit, but he's not going to choke him out. He's not going to Pyotr Yan, crazy good takedown defense. Like, when you get this high level, you're not going to like submit these guys like that. But this easily could be a fight that just people get reminded that Aljo, like, hey, bud, like Aljo takes the back instantly in the first round and fucking submits, Sean. Like, it wouldn't be shocking is all I'm saying. And this is just where it's like a win-win for the UFC, though. It's like, all right, if Aljo won this fight, guess what? He's going to fight Suga, like I said. And if he wins that fight, he's moving up to 145. And if he loses that fight, guess what? He's moving up to 145 because it's his teammate Merab Dvalishvili's time. And even if Suga Sean comes out and wins, like, I'm just a little worried that the UFC might be pushing him just a little too quickly. Like, don't get me wrong, I know a huge win over Pyotr Yan. He's been doing the damn thing, but like, let's really look at his path of if he beats Aljamain Sterling, it's off to the races at that point. You're telling me that a guy like Corey Sandhagen, who, just as big as him, just as tall as him, but has been in way more wars and has been, definitely has the experience factor, I think, over Suga Sean when it comes to just who he's beat. Like, his whole 5-round fights he's had with some big guys, dude, like, I'm telling you right now, it's a lot more than what Suga Sean's already been through. So that would be a really good stylistic matchup, but that would be one of the tougher ones. And then let's go to Merab, bro. Merab, for the most average person, like, we're going to sit here and call Merab boring, but Merab's the type of guy that doesn't give a fuck who you are, doesn't give a fuck what your skill level is or whatever. He's going to make the night living hell for you. He's okay with being boring for 25 minutes, quote unquote boring to people. He'll sit there and just take all your confidence away, just take everything that your will, all this stuff away, and be like, hey, yeah, 25 minutes, I just fucking destroyed you, dude. And guess what? He goes out there and he has a high chance of doing that to absolutely everybody in the division, man. Like, don't get me wrong, Suga Sean's got that X factor of being able to knock him out or be able to strike with him. Because once you get hit in the face, they always say that with jiu-jitsu, the best defense is punching the guys in the face. So, it's going to be a scary, scary road, but there's also a shit ton of fights out there as well for him. Cheeto Vera, all these things. Like, it's just I just can tell the UFC wants that rejuvenation so bad in that division, and they want their first superstar 135. And it's sad too, because Aljamain Sterling on paper is probably the GOAT of 135. But guess what? He just doesn't connect with. Like I said, he got booed in his own hometown over the weekend. Like, the dude does not have a good mic skill, a great fighter, but just doesn't have that. Just doesn't have that it factor. And the UFC, I think, could really tell this weekend. So Regardless, I thought it was a phenomenal fight. I don't know what you guys thought. I don't know who you guys thought won that fight. But like I said, I don't think it really fucking matters because all they cared about the UFC in general was getting Suga Sean in there. So it couldn't have came quicker, especially after all. I'm sure they saw how terrible the views and everything were trending that night until Suga Sean came in and all whatever. But as always, your boy Steven Moustaris. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you guys think Suga Sean's got it. All these things. Comment, whatever you guys, whatever these YouTubers say. Comment, like, subscribe, all that shit. I don't give a fuck. Just I'm here to interact. So, as always, your boy Steven Moustaris. And let's go, baby.